Torment poor Kathleen with this dumbass song. I play this every Sunday, almost every Sunday. Coming on 3 years I've been making movies on Sundays. Not necessarily every Sunday, but most of 2014. Every Sunday. This will be my 100th movie on YouTube. This particular broadcast will be movie number 100. I play this dumbass song in almost all of them, or in most of them. Where I'm playing the guitar, I'm playing this song. Sometimes I play other songs temporarily, but always come back to this. And poor Kathleen has been listening to this literally for years. I mean, coming on decades, multiple decades, more than one decade of listening to this dumbass song. One of the ways you have of measuring how much you want to be married is how, not even how willing you are to put up with the crazy making things that your spouse does, but how you kind of cherish and embrace them, how you come to worship them sort of in a kind of a perverse anti-worship sort of way. All Collins women wash garbage. I had to get used to this when I got involved with Kathleen, that all Collins women wash garbage. The most important thing to do with something that you intend to throw away is wash it first. They do it. It's crazy. For a while it's crazy making, and after a while it's just charming. I hope that Kathleen hears this song this way, because she certainly hears it enough. So, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing her name right. I've been aware of her for more than a decade. I was writing about her way back when at the presenceofmind.net site, when she first burst on the scene at the time of the incipience of the endless war on terror. But she gave a speech this week at the Independent Women's Forum in which she denounced feminism as being pointless, irrelevant, a bad joke. All of which seems to be true if you take feminism at its word and then look at them going apeshit over a scientist's shirt, or getting Brendan Ike fired. Doing all kinds of hideous, evil, awful things publicly. It seems pointless and irrelevant, but that really kind of misses the point. I sympathize with what Hirsi Ali is talking about, and I agree with her to a degree. I would say that what she's campaigning for really isn't feminism, but simply humanism. Humanism for the female half of the human race. And I'm definitely for it. She's arguing for education, particularly for Muslim women, but education for women worldwide, an end to forced marriage, an end to physical abuse, an end to sexual molestation, and up to and including elimination of sex organs, surgical elimination of sex organs. I think men do themselves no favor when they equate circumcision with female genital mutilation. And who could be against being against that kind of stuff? To call that under the name feminism is a mistake, I think, because feminism is Marxism. Feminism is the ladies' auxiliary of the Marxist movement, and practically speaking, it is the most effective, most efficient, most competent and successful branch of Marxism. That if you stop looking at feminism as being some sort of equal rights for women movement, which is obviously irrelevant in the United States and never more relevant in other parts of the world, but is no matter of concern to the official doctrinaire feminists in any case. If instead you look at feminism as a movement seeking pandemic fatherlessness, the elimination of the father from the Western home, feminism has been enormously successful, and it continues to be successful, and it's churlish and small, I think, to criticize that success. Feminism has been enormously successful. It has been more successful at achieving the end goals of Marxism than any other Marxist agenda, argument, push, so-called revolution, conspiracy. Feminism is the most successful branch of Marxism, and it continues to be the most successful branch of Marxism, and it's wrong to criticize it for not doing what it never intended to do, and it's doubly wrong to not acknowledge its outrageous success at doing what it actually did intend to do, to create fatherless homes, thus to create dependent families, that the father is the leader of his home, he's the founder of his marriage, he's the founder of his family, he's the CEO, if there is one, of his family. He's the man with the plan, and if he's living up to that hoplite Greek responsibility, that responsibility that fathers inherited from the hoplite Greeks, if he's living up to those responsibilities, there is no need for state intervention in that home. The state is outside the home because we can't get rid of it so far, but there is no need for the state inside that home. And what feminism seeks in all of its Medusa-like manifestations, all the little serpents that rise out of the single head of feminism, every one of those serpents is aimed at getting the state into the home. And the way that you get the state into the home is to get the father out of the home. And feminism has been fabulously successful at getting fathers out of homes, where 100 years ago, 100 homes, 80 fathers at home, 20 fathers absent. Now, 100 years later, 100 homes, 20 fathers at home, and 80 fathers absent. I'm not praising those fathers in either epoch because they were largely Mr. Maybe. That Mr. Maybe has been the American father since there was an America. He's been the man without a plan all along. This country was fueled by corn liquor for the first 100 years it existed. And quite a bit of corn liquor still gets consumed, and the pathologies that go along with that kind of devil-may-care hillbilly lifestyle at all socioeconomic classes, all social strata. The Mr. Maybe lifestyle has always been, Mr. Maybe has always had a place in America. But he's more and more common to the extent that he's around at all. And of course, most of our fathers aren't even Mr. Divorced, they're Mr. Never Married. Feminism, we note all of the ways that feminism is anti-male and being anti-Brendan Ike or anti-pretty girls on shirts, or all of these public manifestations are awful enough, but what's so much worse is the way that feminism goes after our boys. They identify the driven, the D's among our boys and immediately start to drug them. They identify the C's and they put them in charge of everything so that everything becomes a cautious tyranny. Generally speaking, a woman-dominated enterprise is going to devolve into a cautious tyranny anyway, because men will not yield to women. This is fact of our nature. It's baked into our biology. There is no exception to this. There will be no alternative to this. You can certainly cite outlier phenomena, the Margaret Thatchers of the world or whatever, but men will not yield to women, and because of that, women-dominated enterprises over the long run are going to devolve into cautious tyrannies. Our schools are matriarchally dominated cautious tyrannies where the cautious end up in control of everything, and the driven are drugged into compliance. Everyone is beaten into compliance. If you can't drug them into compliance, eventually you will incarcerate them for huge numbers of years, huge proportions of their lives, their time alive on Earth. Doing everything we can to eradicate masculinity from Western civilization, and is being hugely successful. The manosphere types like to talk about involuntary celibates. They call them incels. This would be men very much like the guys celebrated on the Big Bang Theory, only without the academic accomplishments, but often very smart people, very accomplished people in their fields, and largely sexless in their social lives. Vast hordes of men who are at another time might have been considered to be amazingly marriageable, and not marriageable at all now, and really don't get much in the way of sexual gratification that they don't pay for in one way or another. And certainly no long-term relationships, no marriages, and ultimately no children. Those would be involuntary celibates, but there is another class of men out there that we would call voluntary celibates, going all the way to the men going their own way movement, but there are lots of men on that road who are not explicitly naming men going their own way as their destination. They're just going their own way because that's the only way they got. It's the only game in town. Men who end up not reproducing, very smart men with very good genes that would be very worthwhile to conserve. And these genes are not being reproduced at all. That incarcerated population tends to reproduce far ahead of its, what you would call its reasonable, rational expectations. And, that may have consequences too, but on the other side, feminism argues to our young women that they should not have children, they should not get married, they should not have families, they should have a career, see the world, have some fun. And if in the process they manage to ice themselves out of the reproductive market one way or another, either by missing their window on marriageable men, or by hitting the wall early and becoming substantially unattractive to men, or simply by habituating ugly behaviors that make them uglier and uglier over time, less and less likely to appeal to good guys and more likely to be temporarily appealing to bad boys. So in this respect, feminism has been hugely unsuccessful. We left out all of the abortuses too. 53 million children killed in the United States since Roe versus Wade. 53 million. And when we talk about the great successes of Marxism overseas, it's always worthwhile to express yourself in millions. On the order of 160 million people killed by traditional Marxism, meaning Soviet-style Marxism, Nazi-style Marxism, Red Chinese Marxism, the Marxism of the Khmer Rouge, and the lesser atrocities in Central and South America and the United States. But still, 160 million involuntarily murdered innocent people whose only crime was standing opposed to the Marxist regime. 160 million, that's an impressive number. I present you 53 million more victims of Marxism, Marxist feminism. 53 million unborn children killed for being inconvenient. One of the richest countries on earth. A country that is actively importing people to replace all the people that we killed. We had amnesty this week. Amnesty is a strange issue for me. rule of law argument, blah, blah, blah. The people put through the ringer of the proper procedure and who still get no results. Millions of people violating the law, and many of them becoming dependents on the state almost immediately, whether they intend to do that or not. They're the perfect recruits to become dependents on the state because they're starving. They don't have any place to live. They don't have any clothes. They don't have any jobs. They don't have any food. They don't have any way of taking care of their children. And here's Big Mother with her bounteous, beneficent teats filled up with other people's property. I can name all kinds of reasons to oppose this, and yet it's, number one, it's a family issue for me. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. More than one branch of my family has less than perfectly documented fruit on it, and having that sword of Damocles or whatever, having that threat removed from their lives, this is certainly a boon to them and a boon to me, because people that I love are no longer at risk of being thrown out of the country. Obviously, I live in Phoenix. I live surrounded by less than perfectly documented people, and I think they're wonderful. They're very hardworking people. Very good Catholics, and I like good Catholics. I like people who love their children, and our undocumented friends love their children. They're going to make good Americans, and that's one of the reasons I'm glad to have them here regardless of how they came, because they're going to make good Americans, and I want them to make good Americans. I want them not to be the next victims of feminism, because that is the risk that, number one, they're easy prey for the plantation system, the welfare plantation system that keeps people enslaved, leaden handcuffs. They want to call their gold-plated handcuffs. Not golden handcuffs, they're just gold-plated. But once you put them on, you never get them off. Very difficult to get them off. And I don't want that to happen to our Latin American friends. But on the other hand, I do want to encourage them to embrace the American way of life, the American middle-class way of life, to dig in, work hard. A whole family works hard and produces the wealth necessary to put the kids through the best possible education they can get. And then the kids deliver back to the rest of the family while they're raising their own families, and their own kids scale that much higher on the ladder of success. And this has worked for generations in the United States for immigrants, and it will work for you too. Steer yourself clear of bad ideas. You have to watch for all the insidious ways that the Marxist feminist agenda will come at your children and try to take them away from you. Try to come between spouses so that they can drive a wedge into that family, get the state into the home, and therefore get the father out of it, because once the father is out, mom and the kids will be dependent on the state forever. I have to laugh at myself because as I become ever more hippie-like in my hair and my beard, my mane and my manner, my dipshit guitar, I become more and more a hippie, and at the same time I become more and more Baptist, more and more Mormon. Not religious in any way at all. This is an atheist church. You're safe from God here. You're safe from God and all his pushy friends. But that abstemious lifestyle, measured, careful, thoughtful consideration, the affectionate display in the way that you comport yourself, carefully kept counsel, but you keep it carefully so that you don't make poor decisions. I swear if I gave up caffeine, I could be a Mormon. I'd be the Mormon that all the other Mormons hated because I'm such a rebel. But all I have to do is stop drinking coffee and I qualify. And that's my message, I guess, for everyone. This is really the message of Man Alive. Man Alive is not a conservative book and not a liberal book, but it is a book about measured, careful, thoughtful consideration in the way that you manage your mind. And if you apply yourself to that kind of thoughtful consideration, you're not going to make foolish choices. Your choices are your own, and I don't tell you what to choose, how to choose, on what basis. I can offer my arguments for my style of choosing, but all I'm really doing is teaching you how to think my way. You think for yourself and you make your own choices. I'm just teaching you a different procedure for going at your choices so that you make fewer foolish choices, many more admirable choices over time. The good is made of doing better. Done is made of doing, and the good is made of doing better. So as successful as feminism might be right now, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the long run, because the future belongs to the people who reproduce. The future belongs to the people who reproduce responsible children, who give birth to, nurture, and cultivate self-aware, self-responsible, self-adoring children. They own the future, because everyone else is abandoning it to chance one way or another, whether you're giving birth with a certain kind of abandon and no thoughtful consideration, or you're not reproducing yourself at all. You won't be a part of the game 150 years from now. The people who will be playing the game of human life 150 years from now will be the descendants of the people who played life seriously now, who took joy seriously now, who took their marriages seriously, who took their families seriously, who followed through on the promises they made and lived up to their humanity. It's nothing at all. It is no achievement to live down to your animality. This side of the grave, there is no bottom. You got to go at least 6 feet down before you find the bottom when you aim for the bottom. But if you aim for the top, you may not get everything you're aiming for, but you'll get more of it. Good is made from doing better. If you don't let them into your family, then it doesn't matter what they're doing elsewhere. The universe is yours from the inside out, from inside your own head, emanating outward. Love best the things you love most. And the world outside your mind, the world outside your home, is impotent to destroy your values. But do let's stop criticizing feminism for its public irrelevancies. We judge political causes by their cultural effects, and the cultural effects of feminism have been amazingly, astoundingly consequential. Feminism has destroyed the family in the West. It's our job to rebuild it. And this is how we will rebuild it, by embracing egoism from the inside out. But feminism has been amazingly successful so far, and it's wrong of us to cheat it. Of all the notoriety it has earned and deserved. My name is Greg Swann. This is the Church of Splendor. Thank you so much for your time this weekend. Try to have happier things to talk about next week. Bless you. Thank you.